Does it make sense to rent or to buy right now in 2026, specifically in Denton, Texas? I'm gonna tell you a quick story. There was a client who was working with a real estate agent, and he told the agent, hey, I wanna be around $2,700 a month. The real estate agent, she found him exactly what he was looking for, except the house that was listed for rent was also for sale. So I'm gonna use this specific example. If you really wanna dive into the numbers and figure out, hey, what does this look like over a 5-year period, we're gonna do that. Stick with me. This is something I've seen more and more as the housing market has changed and listings are sitting longer, where a seller will say, hey, I wanna sell the property, it's not selling, and they say, okay, I just wanna get out from underneath this. Maybe they've already bought another house and I'm gonna list it for rent as well. This property was for rent for $2,700 a month, and it was for sale for $350,000. So the real estate agent said, hey, why don't you look at the numbers? I got in contact with this client and we dug in. So I'm gonna share the graphic of the exact breakdown of this. This is a 3.5% down FHA loan. You might be asking yourself, why would I pay more money a month, $144 a month, to own this property when I can rent it for less? So we talked monthly payment. Now let's jump into the cash needed to get into this property. If you get into the property as a renter, you're gonna need 2 months of rent plus a $100 application fee, so $5,500. If you use an FHA loan, you put 3.5% down, you're looking at a down payment of $12,250, about $7,028 in closing costs, which brings a cash to close down payment plus closing costs of $19,278. So technically, the $12,250 is the absolute minimum that a buyer can bring to closing per the regulations. In this case with this client, and because of the market we're in, the real estate agent was able to negotiate and get the seller to cover all of the closing costs. So in this case, we're using $12,250. So that's $6,750 more to buy versus to rent. So you might be asking yourself, Wes, why would I want to pay $144 a month more over a 5-year period, which comes out to $8,640 more over 5 years. Plus, on top of that, I'm bringing an extra $6,750. This is $15,390 more that you're, in essence, paying out, either bringing to closing or paying out over that 5-year period. Why would one do it? This is what it comes down to. This is one of two pieces, is the equity. So while you're paying down your 30-year, 5.5%, 30-year fixed mortgage, you've paid down that balance by $25,464. So when you look at these two numbers, that's roughly $10,000, slightly more, $10,100-ish dollars more that at the end of the 5-year period you have in your pocket. So this is just straight math. What we haven't talked about is appreciation. So over that 5-year period, this $350,000 property should be worth 3 to 5% more year over year. These aren't just my figures. This is if you look at Dallas-Fort Worth as a whole over the last 25 years. All right, so let's hammer some of these details home again. So monthly difference, $144 a month higher to buy the property versus rent. That upfront money, you're gonna spend $5,500 upfront to rent the property, and then you're gonna spend about $12,250 to buy the property. Big asterisk there if the real estate agent has the seller paying all of the closing costs. So over 5 years, you're $10,074 ahead purchasing the property versus renting. The reason for that is you've paid down your loan balance by $25,464. The last piece, which I touched on, was appreciation. So if we count 3% appreciation, that means here in 2026, this property that you buy for $350,000 should be worth more in 5 years. So total, you're talking about right at about $80,000 equity that you'll have in that property at the end of the 5 years. So when just doing the math on this over a 5-year period, it's pretty clear who the winner is. Purchasing the property does make more sense. But you might say, hey, Wes, maybe I don't want to stay in the property 5 years. If you're just going to be in the property 1 to 2 years, then hey, renting the property makes sense. It's hard to know. I always tell clients this. I say, look, our lives are dynamic. We don't know what's coming down the pipe. But if you're relatively sure with work and everything going on that you're going to be around this area for the next 5 years, hands down, the math works out. Buying the property makes sense. Couple other things to talk about. To make this happen, getting the seller to cover the closing costs is huge. I could do another video where if you just bring the closing costs with you, what that would look like. That was about $7,000 that we're assuming the seller's going to cover per the offer. So that changes things. Any questions you have, give me a shout. Reaching out to a local real estate agent would really be the best next step because real estate is hyper local. I know of several really great ones here in the Denton, greater DFW, and then greater area too. I'm in a lot of the southeast from Texas over to Florida. So any questions you have, please reach out, and thank you for the support. Talk to you later.